Afternoon all, how are we all doing? Afternoon Diriji, Derej. Afternoon Derp. How are we doing? Afternoon Steve, Brian, Wacky. Pound yen. Cool, that was quick. Don't waste any time. Pound yen is going down because I'm in it. Well, I'm out of it here, but I'm in it on my other account. Yeah, it's going down. Not sure what else you want me to say. It's going down. It'll probably go back up again in a minute. Where's my pen gone? Hunt the pen. There it is. Always appears in a different corner every day. Yeah, it's getting extended now on the hourly. So I'd watch these areas. So if we get an ADR hit today on it, or we get 150 ADR, I doubt very much we're going to get a lot of movement. This morning's been a bit flat. There's no ADRs, apart from oil. Oil's collapsed. Afternoon, Zico, David. Yeah, so there's not a lot of movement today. It's been very quiet because of FOMC. So we got FOMC this evening. We've had the ADP non-farm employment change, which came out as a massive positive, which bodes well for unemployment tomorrow. So could have a nice bullish move on the US dollar tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, not a lot of movement today. So I doubt we'll get an awful lot of movement this afternoon. The only thing really that's done anything has been oil. If you look at all the other FX pairs, sideways. Little bit of movement down on the Aussie Swiss. The yen's had a little bit of strength today as well. But apart from that, not a lot really. A little bit of movement, but nothing to write home about. So fairly flat day. We might get some movement this afternoon in New York. We'll see if they need to reposition or anything, but everything's just been floating up and down today. So the only movement we got on the US dollar off of the employment was basically a whipsaw of 20 odd pips in that case, which is less than half an ADR. So there's nothing. No movement. The SP looks like it's making its way back up. S&P 500 you're talking about? It's not moved. It's totally sideways. How do you see that as making its way back up? So that's where it opened in the Globex session, and that's the range you've had today. It's moved a grand total of 13 pips, a quarter of an ADR. Not gone anywhere. Morning, Diamond. Morning, Dreska. Afternoon, even. Afternoon, John. Right, so let's have a look at what we've got today. Do you think oil will bounce back up? Could well do. It's ADR, so yeah, there's a good chance, but it's oil. It'll do what it likes. There's no support resistance until we get back down to this monthly down here. So all of the last few weekly levels are all above us. So we've just filled those propulsion gaps there. We've hit ADR. There's a couple of propulsion gap targets to the downside. Once those are complete, opens up a bounce potentially. But we've got that monthly low. It's too deep. Basically, if you look at it, it's just not, this is, there's no logic to the movement on oil. It's just a big old movement down. Could go up, could go down at any time. We've got oil inventories at 330. So every Wednesday we have the oil inventories at 330. So we've got oil coming out later. So it will move off of oil inventories. Where it goes is very difficult to tell. The DAX today, we didn't get a lot of movement on the DAX. We had a rally to the upside. So we broke the downside. Then we broke the upside, pulled back and pushed. So it had an ORB to the upside, but very choppy movement on its way up there, and it hasn't gone very far. So all we've done is basically come back up to where we were yesterday. So again, DAX is totally sideways now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is day 12. Totally sideways, not going anywhere. Nothing's moving. So looking at the Dow, so far this morning, we've gone absolutely nowhere. So that was the open. That's where we are now. So it's just not gone anywhere. Nothing's gone anywhere. It's FOMC day. I'm not going to trade the opening range break today. Highly unlikely we're going to get any movement because the market's just going to wait for this afternoon, for this evening, for FOMC. So I don't think we'll get any movement. We will see, though. You never know. Watching the Dow, watch the NASDAQ at the open. We've got 1.5 minutes until the open. For news, 3 o'clock this afternoon, we've got the PMI figures. So your services PMI. So it's basically an economic indicator. It does tend to move the market. However, with FOMC coming up, I'm not sure we're going to get an awful lot. So we'll probably get a bit of a whipsaw off of it. Not a lot else, but the market is quite likely to stay sideways until we get to this. So if you're going to be trading the opening range breaks today, just be very careful. Your pre-market 5 or 15 is probably your best bet, and try and go on that candle. Just try and go for a quick 1.5 hour move in one direction or the other. I don't think we'll get a lot more than that, but we'll see. Tim, is CAD yen coming down purely based off of crude oil? Well, the yen, everything's coming down against the yen at the moment. The yen's got a little bit of strength. You can see everything's coming down against the yen. This is yen strength, not to do with the Canadian dollar. So everything's coming down against the yen. Finally heard back from Fidelcrest support this morning. Lot size limits have been removed, but news trading is still intact. Brilliant news. Okay, that's good to know, Brian. I'm not too bothered about the news. I can live with not trade, because you've got to trade manually anyway. So it's not the end of the world to not take a trade 5 minutes before or after whatever news events they decide to put in their calendar. It's like 10 minutes, 3 or 4 times a day. So it's not the end of the world. Lot size limits, though, would have been a deal breaker for me because it's too woolly on how it's calculated. So, I've taken 72 lots long on oil, and I've taken 3 lots short on a euro trade. So what's my average? 50? Are you saying that I've got to trade within 30% of 50? I don't know. It's just all too woolly, isn't it? So that's good. That's good news. So I'm not too bothered about the news trading thing. I can live with that. Your pre-market, ooh, that's tight. You may have got triggered on that. No. Well, I use 1.5 pips, so I wouldn't have got triggered on that. US dollar yen, ADR. We got an ADR. So you may have got triggered on that. Actually, if you're trading the 5 minute, you would have got triggered long. If you're trading the 15, oh, you're definitely long now. And you're short. Whippy. This is what I mean. It's going to be like this today. It's FOMC. And we've got PMIs. So nasty whippy thing today. Probably not something you want to be looking at trading. US dollar yen, first ADR of the day. Apart from oil. So that's coming down nicely. So all these all these yen pairs coming down to fill the gaps beautifully. So really nice drops on these. I've got a pound yen short on at the moment, which is playing out very nicely as well. I got out of the one on the H1M5 yesterday. I entered on the other account, which I'm still holding down into here. So I'll be getting out of that at ADR if it hits ADR. So US dollar yen, potential ADR bounce. We've got this propulsion gap here. These yens, I think, probably are going to go for the gap fill, but I doubt very much we'll get all the way down to 200 ADR before FOMC. So we'll see what happens with the PMIs. The PMIs, if they dump the US on the PMIs, we could get 150, 175 ADR, but I'd be more inclined to say that's going to get sorted on FOMC one way or the other. So right now, where they've got us positioned on US dollar yen, you're kind of equidistant between a long or a short run this afternoon on FOMC, aren't you? So going to be a tricky one today. Yeah, so that oil trade, up to you. If you want to take that ADR, it's a beautiful, I mean, this is an absolutely gorgeous support area to trade back up into. So if we're going to continue dumping, that's where I'd look to sell it. But obviously 3:30 in literally an hour's time, you've got the oil inventories coming out. So I don't know what they want to do with it, but that's the normal average range oil does. So potentially that's where you're going to pause. Morning, Salty. Afternoon, even, whatever it is. Good day yesterday. Took profits and repositioned based on this morning's London Open a couple of hours ago. We still good? Waiting for FOMC, yes. So EA's basically the hourly hedging set file did 2.54% yesterday, 1.79 bank today. So that's 5% up on the month, 11% drawdown. So that's not doing too bad. Still stuck in this Swiss yen and CAD Swiss. Can't seem to get out of those hedges, basically. 4-hour mean reversion banked 0.3% today, 1% drawdown. So nothing happening there, just banking as usual. Hourly banked 0.13 today, sitting in 2% drawdown. Nothing much is moving. So that New Zealand dollar yen is probably going to bank today. What do we need on that? 48. It's going to need to get down below ADR, basically. So retesting this kind of gap down, basically. This propulsion gap basically is target. So might get that bank today, the New Zealand dollar yen. And ADR reversals. There's nothing there to worry about at all. New Zealand dollar CAD's in 0.71 drawdown, bank 0.77, 0.6 banked yesterday. So it's just banking bits and bobs. So all the EAs doing well. Just keeping an eye on my pound yen. Whoa. Okay, Dow. Dow's gone short. So there's your 15-minute. Your 15-minute pre-market. That tapped down first, didn't it? So you went short, long, short. Target. Yeah, right mess. So there's your 5-minute open. And obviously it's been triggered short already. Fairly big actual movement there. Let's see what the Nasdaq's up to. Choppy mess. Nasdaq's a mess. Really not worth taking these today. Afternoon, Alex. Euro odd looks with low volume. Everything's got low volume. Everything's going to have low volume ahead of FOMC. It's either you either get one or the other. You get either crazy or you get low volume. Basically what it does. Afternoon, Figinia. We'll do an analysis of most of the pairs in a minute because there's not a lot else to look at. New Zealand dollar CAD. Sideways at the moment. Everything's going to be sideways. So we're coming out of an extension. So it took a short on that yesterday, looking for a drop back down into that double top. But we've got that up there as well. So you can't really forecast anything today. I mean, there's any analysis you're going to do today is going to be completely thrown out the window when FOMC hits. So you just have to basically play it by ear, really, and wait for FOMC. So ADR-wise, Dow's going for a runner. Let's have a look at where the Dow's off to this afternoon. So last month's low is 150 ADR. That's also that propulsion gap to the downside. We've got propulsion gaps to the upside as well to target, which is 150 ADR. So where we are at the minute, we're banging between those two levels. So short, I'd look to get down to 150 ADR. Long, I'd look to go up to 150 ADR. So those are your targets, long or short. At the moment, the market seems to want to go short. We had negative news yesterday, remember, on AMD and a few other stocks. So NASDAQ stocks potentially might sell off, but it doesn't look like anything's really happening, apart from whipsawing at the moment. So Mr. Wick is officially in the building this afternoon. Oil is just retesting ADR. So second test there on ADR. There's all your ADRs then, so nothing there. RSIs, pretty much the same as this morning on the RSIs. New Zealand dollar CAD was 4-hour RSI extension this morning. It's just starting to sort of roll over at the highs now. So we were looking at that for a potential short opportunity on the 4-hour. So you would have had an entry in there this morning, targeting basically back down to this double top, which is what we looked at. Hourly, same thing. I got in there yesterday on the H1 extension, M5 mean reversion. Didn't get a second entry. Wasn't far enough today. It needs to be 3/4 of an ADR at least, which is going to be around about 50 pips. So the reversal alert was actually lower, so it didn't take an entry on that one. So yeah, looking for it to short back down into these areas at some point. But there is that target to the upside as well on the New Zealand dollar CAD. So that's your only 4-hour extension. Hourlies, you've got US dollar yen, which is now ADR as well. So this is ADR and it's an hourly RSI extension, just about to get extended beyond 75. If this continues to push down, that's going to be a nice mean reversion long. Just be very careful, obviously, with FOMC on the cards today. Euro CAD, hourly RSI extension to the upside. Again, Canadian dollar is going to move off of it. Everything's going to move off FOMC, but Canadian dollar specifically because it gets dragged with the US dollar. So pushing back down into ADR there, high, low, lower high, potentially dropping down into that propulsion gap. But this could just be a pullback. Looking for a long, all going to depend what happens this afternoon, this evening with the FOMC. But right now you're extended above the hourly. I'd be looking for a little bit more. If we can get up to here, I'd be interested in shorting it up there. But again, euro, just be very careful with your euro exposure. We've got the rate announcement tomorrow on the euro. So the euro is either going to fly or dump tomorrow. Very, very tricky to forecast that as well, because we've got a 3.75 forecast, but we've also got talk of a 4. So 1:15 tomorrow afternoon, we're going to find out. And then the press conference is at 1:45. So before the New York Open tomorrow, we're going to know what's going on with the euro. But just be careful with the euro. I get the feeling we might get a rally on that tomorrow. CAD yen, that's coming down at a rate of knots. So that's undoing propulsion target down there. 125 ADR would be a lovely long. It's extended. If it does get to below 75, I'll be shooting in below 25. Sorry, I'll be shooting in long on that one. Just dropping down again, waiting for the reversal on M5, which is there. Lots of targets to the upside. Hourly targets to the upside galore. Got that big one there, that huge propulsion gap there, another one there. So there's multiple accumulations on this one. Got a cold coming. So this one here, lovely accumulation and then break of that low. That's a really nice propulsion gap. Been tested. We know that's got lots of sellers in it. This one here is kind of a long accumulation, which kind of started to break there. Then we accumulated again, broke there. So that is also valid. All of this is valid targets to the upside. Once that's complete, we might pull back up into there. So I'll be looking for longs on CAD yen. All the yen pairs, basically, we've undone pretty much everything. So if you flick through all the yens, we had the big strong rally on Friday, continuation Monday and Tuesday, undoing it now. Same with the CAD yen, same with the euro yen, all coming back down into these propulsion gaps. Pound yen, same thing. New Zealand yen, same thing. US dollar yen, same thing. So now we've pulled back. market is extended to the downside, potential longs. But we've still got these targets. So if you get in on this ADR, for example, targeting up there or up there, and it doesn't work, that's where you take your second and still remain those targets. So it's likely to bounce off of this area here or this area here, which is that propulsion gap. CAD Swiss is the other. So CAD Swiss is extended to the downside on the hourly. That's a good looking support level we got here. So this is your monthly low. Got one long on that already. That was extended below the 25 level, looking for it to push up into propulsion. Nice quick in and out, hopefully. So if it is going to continue in its downward spiral, yeah, so beautiful bounces off the 72, 24 areas, constantly bouncing off the 74, yeah, you know what I mean, 72, 24 on the way down. So if we are going to continue that move, we'll be looking for a pullback and then continuation short. At some point, this trend is going to stop. Yeah, oil is going to power up, euro is going to tank, the Swiss franc is going to go with the euro, and this is all going to go the other way at some point. So, you know, whenever you're looking at something that is strong trending like this, you have to start thinking to yourself, this has been trending for a long time. At some point, this trend is going to end, and we are going to start to rally back the other way. Look at things like the Aussie New Zealand. Yeah, we were looking at this going, we bought the crap out of this for an entire year. Fantastic. Made loads and loads of money on it. Got caught there. Wrong. Bang. At some point, it's going to end. And it's going to do that. It's going to undo all that trend. So just be careful with things like the CAD Swiss as well, because, you know, it's getting to the point where you're suddenly going to get a double bottom and it's never going to come back to it. And it's going to come up and it's going to undo everything that it's done, or at least half of what it's done on the way down. So at the moment, the fundamentals support short, I think, on the CAD Swiss. Yeah. So at the moment, the fundamentals still support it short at the moment. There's very little bias from the COT report. There's no bias long or short on it at the moment on this one. So it's purely fundamentals are saying it's a better short than a long. Retail at the moment are longing it, so it's a good short as well. There's the S&P PMIs, 53.6 on a forecast of 57. 53, sorry, 53.7, 53.6. So ever such a slight miss on those. Any impact? Yeah, so it's still a short at the moment, but you know, we're getting very, 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 very tired on this one. So I think at some point, but the Swiss franc, you know, if the euro does increase interest rates to 4, and we do get that bullish run on the euro, we're going to get a bullish run on the Swiss franc, which means this is coming down hard when the Swissy pushes. And unless oil starts to recover, if oil goes for that double bottom on the monthly, Canadian dollar is going to struggle. If FOMC comes out at 5 instead of 5.25, Canadian dollar is going to struggle. So just be careful long in this. You might get into a little bit of a squeeze on it. It's a Swiss franc pair, and they tend to do that. So, so that's all your RSIs and ADRs. There's not a lot else to look at today. We're just whipping around on the Dow at the moment for the last 15 minutes down here. So has anybody got any other pairs they want to have a look at specifically? I was going to go through all the pairs, but to be honest, there's not a lot of point really going through anything today, because everything that we look at today is going to be affected by this evening. And then, so anything US dollar and CAD related specifically is going to be heavily affected by this. Anything euro and pound related is going to be heavily affected by this tomorrow. So that leaves us the Aussie pairs and the Swiss and the yen. So Aussie and yen, basically, we know the yen is dropped very hard, so it's a good potential buy. The Aussies and the New Zealands have been rallying. So, and a lot of these are sideways at the moment, as you can see by the Aussie CAD. So there's really not a lot of analysis to do at the moment. Everything is kind of looking for support resistance levels. So bang in the middle of nowhere on the Aussie Swiss, if it pushes up into that propulsion gap, which is also weekly supports, that'd be a nice short. If it pushes down into there, that'd be a nice long, assuming that RSI gets extended. So it's all the same stuff, which you know kind of what I do every day. I do exactly the same stuff. So there's not much point in doing much analysis on anything really, because it's all going to change this evening, especially if we get that 5 instead of 5.25. If that gets 5, the market's going to go crazy later. It's not going to know what to do with itself. So there's only one person that knows what that's going to be. Russian, there will be no more negotiations with Zelensky. Okay. I thought the door was open, Putin. Make your mind up. What's happened to the DAX? Not a lot. Quite often when you get, Putin hasn't said that obviously, but quite often when you get something about the Ukraine war, the DAX collapses. Steve, gold. Here he comes. So gold obviously is going to be affected this evening as well, massively. We're back up at the highs on gold. So that propulsion gap that we looked at as a target to the upside is now complete. We've still got this one here. So if we can get up into there this afternoon, that leaves us open for obviously shorts, which would mean we'd need strength in the US dollar. So where we are right now, positioning wise, we are 150 ADR away from the monthly high, and we're 175 ADR away from 2 weeks ago's low. So basically it is an absolute flip of a coin where this is going, obviously based on FOMC, but we've got equidistant movement to the upside. So we're stuck in a range sideways and we're in the middle of the range. Yeah, where don't you trade? Middle of ranges. So if you're going to go short on something, you wait for a resistance. If you want to go long on something, you wait for a support. Taking the trade there is literally flipping a coin. So flip a coin. In fact, I got one of those. There it is. Mr. Wick. It's always ahead. So it's always long. Don't know. Wait and see what happens later. Look at the whipsaw on this today. So that was your Asian low and that was your Asian high. They basically swept that and they've swept that and we're back where we started. So they're just clearing the decks. This is what they do ahead of FOMC. They just wipe everybody out, reset, and then they can go wherever the hell they like. Take your pick. Dow's just pulling back up inside the ORB. Rubbish. NASDAQ, absolutely nowhere. We've got 10 minutes to the news. Jason, I want to see gold. Potential to go down or up for later. Exactly right, Jason. It has the potential to go down or up later. There's only two things that are going to happen. I can guarantee it's going to be one of those things. He's catching on. But, you know, what happens with the yen? What happened to yen with dollar up for you? What? What happens to yen with dollar up for you? I don't understand what that means. You've lost me. It's really a sideways. I've been looking at my P&L floating between literally 0.4% and 1.4% all day long. And I'm just thinking to myself, if I'd have taken profit every time I got down to 0.4% and then I shorted again every time I got up to 1.4% and repeated that as many times as that thing's fluctuated today, I would have banked about 5 or 6%. Crazy. Dow's running on the highs, going for a long breakout. You know, the amount of times we've seen that fake out to the downside. So potentially looking for upside on the Dow. I've got a feeling we're just going to hover today. So what you've just put in as a low there, watch that high of the day up here for a short, and then watch that for a long. Literally try and play that all day long. I reckon that's probably not a bad idea today. If you want to trade it, I'm staying well clear though. Gold filled the gap. Where are you up to on the gap strat? Gap strat? What's that? Oh, propulsion gap target strategy. I'm not any further forward, to be honest. I am, but I've been working on a new version of the Market Reversal Alerts EA. I'm not so much working on a new version of it. I'm working on a aggressive drawdown control version, which is going to be different. I keep flitting between things. So I have got the wide range or the propulsion gap target EA is in development still, but I'm struggling at the minute a little bit to find out a good way of targeting. So I'm just playing with ideas on it at the minute, and every idea that I've got seems to evolve into something new. So number of gaps to the downside as directional bias is something I'm playing with an idea at the moment. I'm testing. There's lots of things I'm testing on it. So it's, to be honest, there's no real strategy that look at that rejection. Bang. So DEX cleared to the upside, DEX cleared to the downside, back to the middle, ready for PMIs. Yeah, there's no real we know the gaps get filled. There's no obvious strategy to trade them apart from picking a direction and then averaging into it and targeting the closest gaps that are in profit. So I'm just trying to figure out a way to pick a directional bias. I'm swaying towards using support and resistance on the weekly and the monthly, literally to start longing. So where we are here, for example, I would be shorting it now because we're at last week's high. And then that becomes my target. If it pushes up into the next propulsion gap, I will scale in. And that is still my target unless there's another propulsion gap put in place that is below my average, which I can get out at. So it's literally like a position trading strategy based on using these as targets rather than ADR. That's what I'm trying to develop. But I've kind of gone off track a little bit on it because I started playing around with methods to automatically instigate aggressive drawdown control, which is what the Market Reversal Alerts EA is missing. And I've kind of gone down a bit of a rabbit hole with that, which means I've gone off on a tangent, and this has kind of been parked for the last couple of days because I've been developing the aggressive drawdown control logic. So I've got lots of balls I'm juggling, basically, which I always have. But it's coming. It's coming. I want to learn how to trade. Buhago. Go to the website. There's a load of links going along the bottom, yeah? Go to the mst.info. Which is all over the screen, and then click on one of those. Free trading education would be the one I would choose from what you've just said, and then watch all that lot. Right, PMIs coming up. 4 minutes. Oil's just taken out the lows. So we're down now to below 100 ADR. So if we get 150 on oil There's absolutely no reason to take a trade where we are now, apart from ADR, which isn't really reason enough. But if we get down to 150 ADR, I'm not going to take it. But if I was going to take it, that's what I would do. I'm not taking oil anymore. It's annoyed me. Let's just watch the US dollar. What have I got on US dollar wise? Euro US dollar. So just going to watch the Euro US dollar as the news comes out. Hoping for some big bullish US dollar movement. He meant to ask your opinion on US dollar yen, I suppose. Tonight, if the dollar goes up, Euro yen, what will do for you? Right. So you're asking what's going to happen to Euro yen if the dollar goes up. I don't know. It's got nothing to do with the Euro and yen, has it? It's US dollar. Quite often, what we find is that the yen powers up with the US dollar. So if I was to say anything, if we get a bullish US dollar, we'll likely get a drop in Euro yen because we'll get a bullish yen alongside it. Doesn't always happen though. Basically, FOMC, one of two things happens in FOMC. You either get a huge whipsaw and it goes absolutely nowhere. Yeah, this is when there's a rate announcement. FOMC obviously comes in two forms: the normal FOMC statement and the FOMC statement with a rate announcement attached and a press conference. Yeah, and that's what we've got, the latter. So you either get a massive whipsaw and it just liquidates every order in the book and brings it back, and then they decide to rally off in one direction or the other, wherever they want to go, or you get a huge fundamental shift where we see a 200 or 300 ADR move, and then it just accumulates or flags and then slams off in the direction it wants to go. But either way, on FOMC, you usually get movement across every instrument, because if they're going to pile a load of money into the US dollar, or they're going to pull a load of money out of the US dollar, it's got to go somewhere. So if you want to take a load of trades on the US dollar, buy a load of US dollar, you're going to need to sell some of your other currencies to do that. So everything moves. If you're going to need to get out of the US dollar, you're going to have to move all of that money out of the US and put it somewhere else. So it either goes into the stock market and the rally, you get a rally on the indices, or all the other currencies fly with the US dollar. So either way, you usually get a massive amount of movement on FOMC across everything. So which way everything goes, impossible to tell. If I knew that, I would trade in those directions, which I don't. PMIs have just come out. Obviously, nothing particularly exciting by the looks of things. 51.9 on a forecast of 51.8, as expected. So that's it for news until FOMC now. So indices now have an open book ready to go either way if they want to. I would, however, probably be looking more for shorts up here and longs down there, as I say. If we get there, I wouldn't be surprised if we just do that and literally just muck about in a range, really tight range until FOMC. So I'd just steer clear. Go and do something else this afternoon. I would. Oil still coming down. I'd really be interested in testing the EA you created using the wide range bar entries at the top and bottom of the lines for quick entries and exits. Yeah. I will be doing something to do with the propulsion gap targets at some point. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to use it. Lots of testing, basically. Bellino, I'm a newbie, so thanks for all the explanations, you mean. Bit of a language barrier going on there, isn't it? Which is fine. I certainly can't speak any other languages. So you got wicks everywhere today, look. literally, it's just a wiki mess. So there's no point in looking at anything else today. And if anybody's got anything specific they want to look at, let me know. But we are not going anywhere today. It's sideways. Can you do gold? I've done that. I've already done that, Mocha. It's going to go up or down. You're in the middle of a range at the minute, so no directional bias. The yen seems to be weakening off the back of that PMI news. Pound yen's coming up. Euro yen ever so slightly as well. So the yen seems to have weakened a little bit off the PMI figures. US dollar doesn't seem to be doing anything at all. Nice big spread though. Pound's rallying a little bit. Sorry, one sec. Just got a pound yen. Pound yen, I've got a trailer on it. It's about there. Just trailing this down at the moment because it's been coming down basically all day. So I'm just worried about a big spike up. So I'm just going to get out of that if it pops rather. Right, Euro US dollar. Weekly range on the oil has just been hit, 125. So oil's coming down again hard. So watch these levels. So tempted. So tempted to take along. I'm not going to do it. It's going to kill me if I do. So leaving it where it is. Right. That's all I've got for you today. There's not a lot else to look at. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to go and do something else this afternoon because the markets are flat. And whatever happens this afternoon is likely to be either a push up and then a pull back down to where it is or something like that. Or we're just going to do something like that. Yeah, we're not going anywhere ahead of FOMC. The market's going to wait. So wait until FOMC and then we'll analyze that tomorrow morning. We'll have a look at the fallout. So this afternoon, I'd go and do something else. 7 o'clock this evening, or whatever is in your time, is the FOMC statement. We're expecting a 5.25. There is talk about getting a 5. The press conference is where you're going to start the move. So 7:30 onwards until about 7:45, 8 o'clock. That's when you're going to see the real move on the US dollar. So depending on what that rate comes out at, we're likely to get a spike. If that spike is kind of that, whipsaw-y, fine. If it's a big sustained spike, that could well get completely undone in the press conference. So just be wary. If you're trading on Fiddle Crest, you can't take a trade 5 minutes before or after anyway. Be interesting to know if they class that as the news or that, because that is what moves it. That is just the announcement of the rate. So that's where really you're going to get the move, and that's where you can make the money. So that's all we got. Tomorrow's another bank holiday in Japan, and then tomorrow we've got the Euro rates to look out for and the Euro press conference. So again, another busy day with rates tomorrow. Interest rates, obviously, if you want to keep track of those, the fundamentals are on the website. So just keep track of that. And obviously the buyer scorecard is likely to change off the back of interest rates potentially today. So if we do get a sustained 5, nothing much changes. If we get a 5.25, the bias on the New Zealand dollar is going to change. So, and obviously the differential will change on the US dollar as well, because we will go up to a plus 2.5, whereas we've been a 0. So there is potential for things to sort of change a little bit this evening. So it's on my list, I think. Got to check. Yeah, so just check that, Brian, because that is as much of a news event as that is. So you might find that they've got the 7 o'clock and the 7:30 in there. So just check. The other thing I don't like about that Fiddle Crest is they quote your broker time, don't they, rather than the actual news time. So you have to go and look on your chart, which is 2 hours ahead. 2 hours ahead? 16. What's the time? 3. 3 hours ahead, is it? 5:05 candle. Yeah, 2 hours ahead. So yeah, whatever time it says in there, you got to go 2 hours ahead of that. Anyway, right, so I'll leave it there. Anything you need, let me know. I'll be in the Telegram group. Just go and do something else. Go and watch some paint dry, or better still, do some decorating, and then watch the paint dry, because you're probably going to have much more fun than you will trying to trade anything this afternoon. You're just going to get whipsawed to death. So just wait until tomorrow. Keep an eye on your portfolios. Any US dollar exposure you've got, careful. Obviously, if you've got any profit, yeah, so a good practice, if you've got stuff that's in profit, yeah, just chuck it over there, because if that goes into negative, you've lost it. You might as well have it in the bank. If it goes into positive, fine, you could have made more money on it. But if it goes into negative, it's more annoying. So you try and bank anything you've got that is in a decent amount before the news, because you're better off having it as realized profit. All right, have a good one. Anything you need, I'll be in the Telegram group. I'm going to get on with some more coding, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:50, and tomorrow afternoon at 2:20 for the New York session. And basically, we'll try and pick apart FOMC and see where we're going with the US dollar from there. All right, so have a good afternoon, whatever you're going to do, and hopefully it's profitable. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.